It's hard to want to share that kind of stuff with people because not everyone is going to understand.
Love yourself. Take care of yourself in the process because it can take a toll on your mind. I still hadn't gotten the results at that time. And in my mind, I'm going to hear something different, because I'm like, God, it's not going to.
And he gave God all the argument in this world to stop him from being the one being called for that mission.
I know too many people in my immediate circle who were diagnosed. And since I was diagnosed, 2 more of my family. I didn't really get the opportunity to celebrate being cancer-free because I just lost my mom. Is it okay to discuss your results to your biopsy? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm ready.
Welcome to Diary of a Breastie, where real stories of survival, faith, and healing come to life. I'm your host, Lucci, and today I'm honored to introduce to you someone who is truly special. Her name is Rose, and if love were a superpower, she'll be proof that it's the most powerful force on earth. Rose is the heart behind 2 beautiful movements, Shades of Pink, an event that honors those fighting cancer, celebrates survivors, and remembers the souls of those who fought with grace and faith. And Rose Cares, an initiative that shines light on caregivers, the often unseen heroes who pour everything they have into caring for others. What makes Rose's story so powerful is this. She doesn't just stand on one side of the journey. She understands what it means to fight, to survive, to show up for someone else, even when they cannot stand on their own. And through it all, she's chosen to build something that reminds us, whether we're battling, caregiving, or grieving, that we are not alone. Today, we're going to talk about resilience, remembrance, and what it really means to love people well. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let me introduce you to Rose. Let's dive in. All right, Rose. I have Miss Rose looking like a rose in my studio.
Thank you.
Welcome. I'm so glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so you look so beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So, I'm sure people watching and a lot of times when I tell people my story or when people hear about people who've had cancer or have been diagnosed with cancer, the first thing they want to find out is, how did you find out?
Yes.
How did you know? Like, what prompted you? What was that like for you?
I get that a lot too. For me, it was a routine mammogram. So no lumps, no pains from anywhere. Just a routine mammogram is how I discovered it.
And so, but a routine mammogram, so I take it that you were always going yearly for the mammogram, right?
I was, and it's interesting that the year that I found out I had cancer, it was coming time for my mammogram to be done. And I had just, my contract ended with my job. I'd been working for 25 years straight. And I told my husband, I want to take a few months off before I go back to work.
You were saying something about your insurance.
Yeah. At that time, I carried the insurance for the family. And by me not working anymore, we were going to either have to jump on COBRA, which is extensively higher, or my husband was going to switch it over to his job, but it was going to be like a 90-day wait. So we opted to just go insurance-less for 3 months, and I pushed all of my appointments out, including my mammogram. And so 3 months later, I went to get my mammogram done, and they said, something looks a little off, and it wasn't the first time I'd heard that. So I thought, okay, they're going to do another one and it'll be fine. This time I didn't get that same, it'll be fine. They said, it appears that we may need to do a sonogram. It looks like we see something. And Lucci, I think for me, I thought, are you sure? She said, yeah, don't worry. We'll confirm it with the sonogram. And so they did. And they said, yeah, looks like it's cancer and we'll need to schedule you for a biopsy. And yeah, I was like a deer in headlights because in my mind, this is happening to me.
Right.
We always hear about other story and we never once think it can happen to us. And so that mammogram that I put off for 3 months, which I'm glad I went to do once we got our insurance moved over, because it revealed something, to me that most women who don't take the time to be proactive to get mammograms would have never caught. So, yeah.
So, I can see that this holds a lot of emotion for you, and I feel it so much because I've been there too. Me being diagnosed, when I was diagnosed, man, I thought like, what is this movie that I'm in?
Right.
And I'm sure as hell that I am not the victim in this movie. I'm just,
that part. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
this has to be a movie.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was in the middle of purchasing my first property, and I had a lot going on, which was why I was prompted to go get the mammogram. My mom was, also diagnosed with cancer. She was at the time fighting for her life.
Wow.
She was in the ICU. And so that prompted throughout her journey, I became more aware of just, health and everything. So I was now going for those tests. And when they told me, I was like, this cannot be my life.
Right.
Because it's like a great movie script.
It is. It's like you're outside viewing it, right? Outside of your body. So yeah.
Literally. But I want to know, what was life like before all this? Like,
so, interestingly enough, I had moved my mother in with me during COVID. She had been diagnosed with dementia. So being a caregiver, working full time, my boys were out of the house. Well, the oldest and my youngest son was still at home, he's 20 something. And so, I was just a regular living, working adult, working full time. Both my husband and I, taking care of our family, taking care of my mom, ensuring she's well. I had just finished working on my MBA. I went back to school. And so these 3 months off, I was like, yay, I'm going to take a break because now I'm going to, jump back in and make more money. I had, and it was, things were going well, no complaints, no problems. Mom was good, and taken care of. And so this diagnosis, told me, sometimes when we think we're in control, I thought it was my idea that I was going to go back to work in those 3 months. Well, God said something different. It was time for me to take a little more time off, for lack of better terms, and to take care of myself while taking care of my mother.
Wow. It's funny how we're kind of alike. And just, going through taking care of your mom, and you also having to deal with this.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you navigate that journey?
And I said I wasn't going to cry, so I'm going to try to hold it in.
You're fine.
For me,
Yeah,
I had to tell myself, give yourself that same advice that you give to others. And my faith, I think is the one thing that sustained me. Because even though, I had the biopsy, I still hadn't gotten the results at that time. And in my mind, I'm going to hear something different, because I'm like, God, it's not going to let this happen. I got to take care of my mom. Sure enough, when I got that call, it was as if someone had punched me in the stomach. It was, how you just get weak and I got a call and she said, "Hi, this is a nurse navigator. Do you have a moment to talk?" And I said, "Sure." I had just taken my mom on the patio to go sit outside and listen to music. And so I said, "Sure." I said, "Give me a second." And I got my mom set up and stepped back inside and she said, "Is it okay to discuss your results to your biopsy?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm ready." And she said, "It is cancer." And the first thought in my mind was, who's going to take care of my mom? It wasn't about me. It wasn't, you immediately, I don't know about you, but you immediately think, how, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
When you're not able to continue to do, I don't know why we immediately think the worst. But again, I think it's because we're human,
Yeah,
right?
it's a heart-wrenching news.
Yeah, it's because we're human.
Yeah.
But I will say the good part in it all is I didn't allow myself to remain there. It was temporary, right?
Right.
Again, my faith, I knew if God brought me to it, He was going to get me through it.
Absolutely.
And that's just the life that I've lived. I knew at that point I was going to have to be strong for myself and my mom, my children. And so I made a decision to do what I needed to do.
Right.
And I told her, all right, whatever we have to do, I'm ready. Yeah.
That's got to be, I think, one of the most important things in the cancer journey is the mindset.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because if you lose it here, it's going to be very hard for you to win anywhere.
Absolutely.
I remember sharing about my diagnosis at the time with my boss at the time. And he told me about a friend of his who had cancer. And this friend had already resolved that, well, it's gonna be the worst. But it turned out that the cancer that he had was curable, and he wasn't going to go into any kind of palliative care or anything like that. And they told him that, and he, for whatever reason, did not receive that as a good news. He was like, okay, so what do I do now? Because in his mind, he already planned that he's gonna, exit this world. So he didn't know what to do with himself anymore. Wow. So I'm just like, man, the mindset is so powerful, not even just for the cancer fight, but just life in general.
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference.
Huge, 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 huge. So I know that before we started talking, so I know that, whenever we talked, you talked about going through radiation, although you did not go through chemo, but you also were put on some hormonal medications.
Yes.
Talk to me about your I guess your path or method in just navigating that whole situation? Did you want to get on the drugs? Did you get on the drugs? How was that whole journey?
So, when I was informed of the type of cancer that I was diagnosed with, the estrogen positive
Mm-hmm.
and progesterone positive, HER2 negative, I started reading. I had ordered this ebook.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Estrogen Matters, right?
Okay.
And it had explained a lot of pros and cons. There was a lot of research done for pre-menopausal, post-menopausal women who had been, still of childbearing age and things like that, and how hormone blockers wreaked havoc on the body. The different brands of hormone blockers, the ones that were considered extremely harmful to women, without giving any specific names, but I think I shared with you earlier. And so I was a bit on the fence. Sometimes they say when you do research and you read, it probably scares you more than if you don't. But I like to stay well informed, especially when it comes to my health. So I was told that taking the hormone blockers would assist with keeping the cancer at bay and keeping it from coming back. And so I was advised that it would probably be in my best interest to take the hormone blocker to increase the chances of it not coming back. And so I was very adamant about the brand that I didn't want to take, but I was open to taking some. And so we kind of discussed, I had researched, I think it was 3 or 4 different ones. And out of the 3, the doctor and I came up with the anastrozole was with the one that I decided to take.
Okay.
What I was not prepared for were the side effects.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
So initially, hormones are responsible for a lot of things in our body, right? They regulate our body temperature. They're good for our hair, our skin, our nails, our reproductive system. And so quite naturally, as we get older, when women go through menopause, we get hot flashes. And that's because of the adjustments that your hormones are doing, because as our body ages, your hormone fluctuates. And so that I was prepared for.
Right.
I knew that because I'm going to be blocking my estrogen, my cooling temperatures were going to be going down, and I'm going to deal with that. But what I was not prepared for was the weight gain, the acne, the fainting spells, passing out. That was a lot to contend with. And we tried to make some adjustments so that we could reduce those side effects. Helped a little bit, but not too much. So one of the things, we as women can be so cruel because one of the things that I heard a lot, especially from friends, were how big I was getting, right? Sorry. And keep in mind, I didn't share my cancer diagnosis, so they didn't know. But it was, all I heard was how big I was getting. Oh, you're gaining so much weight, and so the side effects started to, it affected my, I'm not going to say my self-esteem, but there's a certain, confidence that we like to have about ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so slowly but surely that can be stripped away.
Absolutely.
Without even recognizing it.
Right.
And so a lot of that played into the decision that I made. When I told the doctor, I said, okay, what are the chances of my cancer coming back? And what would happen if I stopped taking it? You know, and it's sad that we make these type of decisions because of superficial things that, like the way we look, or but that's part of who we are.
Absolutely.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, and I say this to say, sometimes you have to be mindful when making comments about people's appearance, because you just never know. You just never know. So yeah, those side effects caused me to stop taking the anastrozole, and take my chances of the cancer coming back, which is, a lot of people would say, you know, that's crazy. Based off my research and what I had read, the chances of my cancer coming back was very small, because I had a slow progression cancer. And the benefits of not taking the hormone blocker was better for me than taking the hormone blocker. You know, dealing with all of the side effects, with my chances being as low as they were, I was willing to stop taking them.
Yeah, and I hate that you had to go, just even hear that from your friends, you know, especially people who are in your most vulnerable circle.
Yeah.
Tear down at the little confidence that you had that was already shaky because of everything that you were going through, you know. And you know, with this cancer journey is hard to want to share that kind of stuff with people, because not everyone is going to understand.
Yeah. And you know, for me, I'll be honest, when I got the news, I had no plans of sharing, and it had nothing to do with, you know, those things. But for me, I wanted to, because of my faith, I knew I was going to get through it, right? My goal was to share my testimony.
Absolutely.
And not the test. Because I wanted to share with people once I was done and say, look what God has done for me, and He can do it for you too. So, and the other thing, you know, when I told you, being that strong friend, I still had people that needed me, right? That would call and need to talk, and you know, I would pray with them or what have you. And to me, I couldn't be strong for them if they thought I was weak.
Yeah.
Right. And as weird as that sounds, I still needed to be that strong friend. And so I continued to do that the entire time. Not once. I think there was a few people that knew. Of course, my husband, my pastor and his wife, and a cousin of mine who helped me with my mother after my surgery and during radiation. And then my brother and his wife, because they were both affected by cancer as well. And they knew the journey. So, and another couple that was close to us, I shared with. But my family, I'm number 12 in a family of 12. And a lot of my own brothers and sisters didn't know. My cousins didn't know. My aunts didn't know. Nobody knew but the few people.
You know, I did the same thing too.
Okay.
So mine was a little peculiar because I did not share with my immediate family because of what was going on with my mom. So I did not want,
you
know, the extra stress on them. but I also do not share with any of my friends at all.
Yeah.
Because I feel, and I don't know if this is the same for you, I feel like there is a level of added stress with people prying into your journey. I mean, they might not necessarily want to pry or have the intention of prying, but it's just the way the journey is. Because some days you just cannot even explain what you're feeling. You're still processing the emotions, you know? So
that too. And I needed to be one with God. I needed that time. And I didn't want the woe is me type. I didn't want people feeling sorry for me.
exactly.
That's never been me. So, and I know it's not people's intention,
Right.
but we don't always know the right things to say, right? We don't know, some people want to hear, oh, I'm so sorry. And, what can I do for you? And some people want to hear, God's got you, don't worry. But the thing is, we don't know who's who.
Exactly.
Right? And so people have good intentions, but sometimes it'll come across, if it's not really what you're needing, then it's not good for you. And so I would rather, like I say, share when I'm on the other side and say, share, praise God with me.
Right.
Then while I'm trying to be strong for myself, people call in and asking questions, and I didn't want that. I needed to be focused. I needed to take care of my mom.
So if you're like myself or Rose, you know that fashion means a lot. And, when you're going through cancer and cancer treatments, that can be hard to even, go through or even be fashionable the way you want to be fashionable. And that's why it's important that I shine the light on the sponsor of today's podcast, Port. Port is a port accessible outfit that is made for those who are going through cancer, and it is made from sustainable materials made here in the USA, and all their information is going to be in the description box below or in the show notes wherever you get your podcast from. And so was there a time in your during your treatment that you, I guess, felt like, oh my God, this is so hard. Like, why am I in this? And, how did you navigate that?
I had, first of all, I had my surgery, I think it was 2 weeks before I was about to go back to school.
And that was what type of surgery was that?
A lumpectomy.
Lumpectomy, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, my pastor was like, you sure you sure you don't want to put off school? And so with Pastor, cancer has affected my body, not my mind. Exactly. I needed something to keep me going and keep me focused. And so, of course, when you have that, if you're going to do chemo or radiation, they put together a treatment plan. And so I had to schedule my radiation treatments around my class days. And so I I knew that, they just said you may be worn out or feel depleted or really tired or exhausted after your treatment. So I wanted to schedule them on the off days. So, yeah, navigating, trying to take care of mom, class, treatment, it was a lot, but I knew it had to be done. And so for me, I just said, just get it done. Just get it done. Yeah.
So you were doing your MBA while you were going for the
No, I so I was at a point where I wanted to pivot in my career. So I'm in IT.
Okay.
And I was going back to learn cybersecurity. I had already done, excuse me, I had already done a certification in cybersecurity earlier, and I was enrolling in UT, Austin, in cybersecurity program.
Mm.
Because I call myself a forever student. And so I'm always learning. I was going to take 3 months off, start learning this and get into, cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
I'd already planned it. And so when I got my cancer diagnosis, I wasn't changing it. I was going to do what I was going to do.
That's right.
Because God had already said, like I said, I brought you to it. I'm going to bring you through it.
Amen.
Just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, this was cybersecurity program. And so I didn't know what to expect. I just knew it was going to be a lot. And so I just had to prepare myself mentally for it. The treatments, class, coming back home, being with mom.
And at this time, I'm guessing this was during the radiation, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, after you heal,
Mm-hmm.
you start your treatments. And so I was still in school.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was time, I'd be class Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Treatments was on Tuesdays and Fridays. So.
Wow. So I heard you talk about your faith and, how God has brought you through your journey. I can tell that was a huge part of this journey for you.
Oh, absolutely.
So talk to me about what your faith looked like before, during, and after right now, today.
So I think, sometimes God, I think he kind of disrupts things to keep us where we need to be, right? Before, I was raised in a church. My husband and I were both spiritual. My mother, we raised our children that way. God was always first in our home.
Yeah.
It was no question. We have a very close relationship with my pastor and his wife. And so we learn a lot from them. And so when this happened, again, like I said, the initial news was a gut punch to the stomach, but it was no question for me. My faith tells me, if you're going to worry, why pray? If you're going to pray, why worry? And so that's not to say that, you have to just be strong, but my faith in God tells me, where my strength comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I lean to that whenever I'm going through anything. That's why I knew this, along with taking care of my mom, is a lot, absolutely. But guess what? I got him to help me through it. And so during it was because of God that I was able to stay focused. And again, with the assistance of my husband, my cousin, my pastor and his wife. And even after everything was done, I joke with God a lot, and I said, you got me, God. I said, you got me, and he continues to challenge me, right? But I truly believe God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. I truly believe that. He doesn't give you, you've heard it, he doesn't put any more on you than you can bear, right? And so I do know I've been tremendously blessed, to say the least, to be where we are today. And so, they say, to whom much is given, much is required. So I think God has placed, I'm not going to say a calling on my life, but I think God wants me to embrace
Absolutely.
My diagnosis and my overcoming of it, and to be a light to others and to share that,
Absolutely.
to share that, yeah.
when you just said, I think God has a calling on my life.
Yeah.
And you did this as if to say, oh, well, I'm not sure. I'm not, I don't know. It reminded me of the part of the Bible where God was instructing Moses to go back to Egypt.
Yes.
To go and rescue the Israelites.
Yes.
And he said, God, why do you choose me? I'm a stammerer. Like they're gonna think I'm a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And God said, you have everything you need.
Yeah.
And he gave God all the argument in this world to stop him from being the one being called for that mission. And God continued to tell him, hey, you have everything you need. Yes. So when I see you say call in with like the demeanor that you said it with, I felt that in me. I was like, no, you say it with your chest. You have a calling to shine the light, because guess what? This is a journey that not many people make it out of.
Absolutely. You're absolutely
This
correct.
is a journey that mars people for life, even if they make it out. So you have been called to be a light, and you need to be bold, brave, and unshakable about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're not the first person to tell me that, by the way. So it's definitely something that I have to trust. I have to trust God.
Absolutely.
And so and just follow as he leads me. Yeah.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's not always going to be straight. You probably know that more than I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I could tell you stories for days.
Sure
We're figuring out stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you'll find that it actually works out. Somehow, some way, you have what you need, who you need, when you need them.
Oh yeah.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah.
I think, with this journey and I heard you talk about insurance and, you getting back on insurance, and that may not be the reality of a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
So I want you to, regardless of the insurance, thank God that you were able to get back and you had the means, and you still have the means to be able to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share some resources or some information? Because I heard you talk about that book. I've not heard of the book, The Estrogen Matters. Yeah, Can you share resources that kind of helped you with this journey?
I should have been prepared. But yeah, so Estrogen Matters, and you can find it on Amazon.
Okay.
You can get it in paperback, or like I said, I did the ebook. It was easier for me to listen to it.
Okay. Is that on Audible or?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And so it for me, even with AI or ChatGPT, you can ask a bunch of questions. You want to fact check it as well. But for me, doing research and trying to find out as much as I can about breast cancer was very pivotal for me. I'm not going to go through anything and not try to research it or figure it out. And I apologize. I did not prepare to bring any resources, but The Estrogen Matters, I can't remember who the author of that was, but it's a really good read. It's for those, not just for breast cancer, but to learn about what goes on with the female body, right? Okay. With regards to hormones and how it affects us overall. It was a huge, and I want to think, did I There was another one that the nurse navigator shared with me, but I can't think of the name of it. But yeah, Estrogen Matters, it's a really phenomenal read. I learned a lot.
Okay.
But with regards to other resources, sadly, the world revolves around these huge conglomerates and insurance, and so a lot of people put off their health, especially like during COVID. A lot of people didn't go get mammograms. They were afraid to go in hospitals, or that's when a friend of mine was diagnosed because she put it off, and she found out a year later. But as women, we have to do what we have to do by any means necessary. I tell, because quite honestly, Lucci, even if we had never gotten insurance again, I was still going to get that mammogram.
Yeah.
No matter how I had to pay for it. I specifically waited those 3 months because I knew it was going to be 3 months before we switched over. But we as women, we need to, and even men, we need to have mammograms done. I'm telling you, it saved my life.
Me too.
A routine mammogram.
Mammogram could be the difference between, I don't want to be too extreme here, but between you being at a early preventable stage and a late stage.
Absolutely. And some people don't have the opportunity because cancers are not created equal, right? You have some that are more aggressive. And so what could transpire in 3 months, or what could take a year for some people, could transpire in 3 months. And that cancer goes from, stage 0 to stage 4. And so I thank God that wasn't the case for me, because I did put it off for 3 months. But, I'm very adamant about being an advocate for getting those screenings.
Yeah.
I know too many people in my immediate circle who were diagnosed. And since I was diagnosed, 2 more of my family members were diagnosed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of breast cancer?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yes, one just a couple months ago, and another 3 or 4 months before that.
The stat says 1 in...
Is it 8?
8 women? Yeah, 1 in 8 women will have breast cancer in their lifetime.
And for me, it feels like it's smaller than 8.
I think
honestly.
so.
I know way too many in my circle.
I think so. It's crazy. It's like, okay, so what is this? Is this a pandemic or?
It's a good question. I got one good friend of mine. We talk all the time, and it's like she even made the comment: is it really cancer? She said, I had to wonder, are they just, and I said, that's a lot because it's so many people.
Yes.
It makes you start thinking all kinds of things, because it's like, how is everybody being diagnosed with cancer? That's why we have to be more proactive.
Absolutely.
And get those screenings. Because you just never know.
That's something. And speaking of the book, I would put that in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, it's going to be in the description. And then anywhere you get your podcast is going to be on the show notes. Okay, so Rose, you have created 2 beautiful initiatives, Shades of Pink,
yes,
and Rose Cares.
Yes.
What was the moment or experience that planted the seed for Shades of Pink? Maybe we can start with Shades of Pink.
Okay, so Shades of Pink came about because the day that I rang the bell to be cancer-free, I remember being excited. I came home to tell my mom, we had lunch. It was a routine day, and I finally texted a few people to let them know that I just won my fight against cancer, right? Not knowing, Lucci, that about 3 hours later, I was going to be texting them again to say, Mom passed away.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, just unexpectedly. She just, and the only thing that I told my pastor, I said, hey, mother was 89, but I think she waited for me to be cancer free.
Because literally 3 hours
The same day.
later.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 hours later. Her eyes just started rolling in the back of her head. And I'm like, Mom, what's wrong? What's going on? And she just had this blank stare. I just taken her to the bathroom, and I called my husband. I said, something's going on. And I checked her blood pressure, and the blood pressure was dropping. It's just dropping. So I called 911. And yeah, I think, like I said, we ate, we had lunch, she laughed. It was a regular day. And I was taking her to sit down and watch her show before she takes her afternoon nap in her chair. Yeah. And so when that happened, I didn't really get the opportunity to celebrate being cancer free because I just lost my mom. It was December 10th. And so grief had taken over. I had to take my mom home and bury her. And so when I shared with, a lot of family learned about the cancer at the funeral, but a good friend of mine, he's a traveling chef, by the way. And when I told him, he said, we're going to need to do something special for you. And I said, I'm good. He said, but you never got to celebrate. Let me make this happen for you. And I said, you sure? He said, yeah. And so I took that and said, okay, you can do this for me, but I want to do something for others. Let's do, I called it a pink out, right? And so I said, yeah, let's do shades of pink, everything in shades of pink. And I'm going to invite my closest friends, 20 people, just 20 people first, my pastor, and 2 of my closest friends were cancer survivors. And I asked them if they were willing to speak, and they said, sure. And so we did the shades of pink out. And it was just a beautiful expression of resilience, support, information, education, and food, and fellowship. And so I said, I want to do this for other women, not just my immediate circle. I need us to know that when we get that gut-punching news, you're not alone. And so that's how Shades of Pink was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a literal moment of pain into purpose right there.
Yeah. I like that. Pain into purpose.
Yeah. And I'm sorry about your mom too.
Thank you.
It's almost like she was, like you said, she was waiting for you.
That's the only thing I can think of, because my mom made sure, she was like, I ain't leaving here until you're good. I took care of her, and she wanted to make sure that I was taken care of. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I also especially love this tagline of yours. It says, Rose cares this is for Rose Cares, actually. It said, love is my superpower.
Yes.
That's incredibly powerful. So I know you talked a lot about caregiving for your mom.
Yeah.
And the role of caregivers, I feel like caregivers have a special place in heaven because you have to be a level of selfless to care for somebody to the point to, man. And I say this because, and I've never shared this before. When my mom was going through it, sometimes I found myself wanting to distance myself from that situation because I had what I was dealing with myself, and I was like, okay, well, I need to save myself first.
Yeah.
And, because I know my brothers and my dad were there. However, you, on the other hand, still going through your situation, still thinking about your mother. Okay. Yeah, so because caregivers are often not celebrated because there is a portion of any caregiving journey or any disease journey or fighting journey that a portion of it is to the caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about like what Rose Cares is, what inspired that as well.
So prior to my cancer diagnosis, like I said, I've always taken care of my mom and my dad, my stepdad. I moved them out here to Texas in 2007. So when he passed away in 2015, mom was by herself. And I noticed some changes, right? I knew dementia ran in our family. My grandmother suffered from dementia. And so mother was living on her own. And so I was literally going to her house from 8 to 8, working from her house from 8 in the morning to 8 p.m., coming home, cooking dinner for my family, and starting over. And it became a lot, right? Because so I told my husband, we just need to move her in with us. Because I was running myself ragged. But I knew she needed to be taken care of. And so we moved her in, and like I said, my mom had 12 children. I'm number 12. I knew I could never do half of what she did for us. So at the very least, I was going to make sure she lived her life to the very end with dignity, respect, and love. There was no going to a home. There was nope. Mother had a certain way about herself. She dressed up every time she went out. So when she was at my house, guess what? When she got up, she got dressed up. She put on earrings. My mom looked like she did when she, I wanted to keep her sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it.
Sense of self.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I poured into my mother the way she poured into us as children. And I know everybody can't do it, right?
It's a big job.
It is, but it was something that was in me. It wasn't something I wanted to do or needed to do. It was something that I was supposed to do. I was called to do. And so taking care of a loved one, whether it be due to a disability or a disease such as Alzheimer's or dementia, it's a selfless thing. We don't get, like you said, we don't hear oh, you're doing a good job, but we don't do it for that, right? But even though we don't, I want people to know we see you and we care. Rose Cares means
take your time.
Even if nobody else says it, I care. I need people to understand because there are so many people out here that don't have people to advocate for them like I did for my mom. I saw it a lot. When she would go to the hospital, and they would be so surprised when I knew all of her medications, and I asked a lot of questions, and they would say, most elderly people don't have people to speak up for them. I said, well, unfortunately, that's a sad fact. And those that do it, they don't hear thank you or, God bless you for doing such a good job. And sometimes we need to hear that,
Absolutely.
Sometimes we need to hear, and like I said, we don't do it for that reason, but it's a beautiful feeling when we hear it.
Yeah, to be appreciated. Everybody wants to be appreciated.
And so that's why I said Rose Cares. I wanted to give caregivers something. I created a logo, and it's the logo just says, "My superpower is love," and that's a caregiver.
I love that.
Yeah, and so I wanted to do like, little things, shirts or things they can buy for caregivers, and
absolutely.
say they could wear it, and people can see this person has a heart. This person has a superpower of love.
Yeah.
And that's what Rose Cares was born out of. My cancer kind of put it on the back burner, so I hadn't really done anything with it. Yeah.
Well, this might be time.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, I know for some of our viewers or wherever you're listening to this podcast from, some people might be getting diagnosed today, or just newly diagnosed, or in their journey. But if you could tell someone that was diagnosed today 3 things, what would be the first 3 things you would tell them?
One, if you lean to a higher power or you're spiritual, or first I would say seek that first, right? Because we all sometimes gather strength from some source, whether it be God or whomever your higher power is. That would be first. 2, I would say breast cancer is not the death sentence it used to be.
Absolutely.
So don't feel defeated just because you hear those words. You can get through it. That would be 2. And 3, love yourself, and remember to put yourself, take care of yourself in the process, because it can take a toll on your mind. It can, make you feel defeated before you even get started. So, love yourself, stay mindful. Yeah, those would be,
Those are great.
Yeah.
So, we have been through a heavy podcast, and I want to wrap this up with the Breastie.
Ding, ding, ding. Love it.
The Breastie lightning round. Okay.
All right, let's go.
These are rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You don't got to think about it.
Okay.
Okay. So number 1, what was your go-to comfort food during your journey?
Italian lasagna, spaghetti, meatball. I didn't care. I was like, you know what? I'm gaining weight anyway. I'm eating what I want. Italian was so good. Shout out to my friend Dolores.
Okay, now. Okay. What's one self-care ritual that you practice either today or maybe you wish you practiced more?
Self-care? Alone time.
Okay.
Yeah. During the journey, I had alone time in the morning.
Okay.
I was one with God every morning. And I need to do more of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
I
good
need
one.
to, I think it's something about just having that time, being one with God.
Yeah, I agree. And what's a song that instantly lifts your spirit? And
He's able.
He's able by who? He's able. Okay.
Yep.
God is able to do.
He's able. I can sing.
Okay.
Gosh, he's gonna kill me because he's able. But yes.
Who is it by?
That's what I'm trying to.
Okay.
Had you not asked me, I would have known. But yeah, he's able because no matter what we go through, he's able.
Amen.
And
I love it.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's able.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last question.
Uh-oh.
Finish the sentence.
Sure.
I am a breastie because...
I'm resilient.
Wow, I love it.
Yep.
One word, resilience.
Resilient.
All right. Well, that is all for this podcast and this discussion. I've enjoyed getting to learn more about your journey.
Thank you.
And it's just fascinating to me how similar we are.
Yes.
You know, so thank you for blessing me with your presence today. And I'm sure that this piece is going to touch somebody in the way that God intends it to do.
Thank you for having me. I truly appreciate the opportunity, and I got through it.
Yes. Yes, you did.
I did. I got through it. Thank you so much.
Oh, this was good.
So one of my good friends, she's a photographer. She did this beautiful gift for me after we did this photo shoot. And she had people say beautiful words about me.
This is so pretty.
And I'm going to tell you, I still have yet to read them because I'm a crybaby. And I get emotional. And so I have not read, I can't read this without breaking down. I want to read it and then call each and every person who said something really sweet and thank them for this. One thing that I did see and hear, my sister-in-law who passed away got a chance to put something. Can I tell you something?
Mm-hmm.
So my husband and I, this year, so the last few years, because I had my mom, we used to travel. When once a year we would go out of the country. But when the kids were all grown, we said we're going to travel every 3 months intentionally and go out of the country at least once. And then when I moved mom in with me, couldn't do that anymore, right? This year, when I tell you, we have been everywhere. And so we went to DR in June, and we used to go every year for our anniversary. And this girl was walking by, and I saw her earrings. I said, I love your earrings. She had on some, the ribbon, the pink ribbon. And she said, thank you. And then I flashed my bracelet, and I said, are you a survivor? She said, I am. I said, can I give you a hug? And we started talking.
Rose, thank you for creating spaces where people can be seen, loved, and honored, whether they are fighting cancer or caring for a loved one or holding the memory of someone they've lost. Your work is a reminder that love truly is a superpower. And to our listeners, if today's conversation has moved you, please share with someone who needs to hear Rose's message. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify so you never miss a story of strength like this one. Well, thank you again to the sponsor of today's episode, Port, for making stories like this come to life.